God warns the enemy is actively hiding your miracle right now. This message is about something vital you might be missing. So don't click away. You, the chosen one, went through something. Not long ago, there was a big change inside you that was so strong that even the enemy of your soul noticed. You've been carrying a heavy feeling you couldn't quite put your finger on, along with an unquenchable inner fire. You mixed them up a lot. You thought that heavy feeling meant you had failed. It seemed like your restlessness was just stress to you. Those simple labels, though, aren't the only thing that has been watching you through every calm morning and every restless night. What you couldn't say yet was picked up by it. You got good at something. They didn't get there by working hard or doing well. They got there by sticking with it. Even when everyone else said, "Give up." The things you hold now aren't a burden. It's strength. The most amazing thing is that even the people who are trying to stop, you can see your journey. It's almost hard to believe until you look back at it. They could always do it. It has never been a real question whether this power is real. Really, the question is whether you are ready to call it what it really is. It's not by chance that you're hearing this right now. It is never a mistake for a chosen one to move toward their own truth. You got here because of something. Something old and real. One more thing I want you to do before we go on. Leave everything else alone for a while. Not the alerts on your phone or the list of things you need to do. Put them down. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath. Because what you're about to understand will change the way you think about everything that has happened to you. And those are the hardest parts. You've known it. As a child, you felt like you knew things that other kids didn't, but you couldn't explain how. And you could feel it when you were praying, when you were alone, or when you were deeply focused on your work, and time seemed to blur together. You've been seeing 5 distinct patterns that aren't happening by accident. They are clear signs that your mind is awakening to something that the world around it wasn't meant to explain. The first thing is that you can't ignore your gut anymore. Not just a flash, but steady sharp signals that come in before your mind can figure them out. The mood in a room changes before anyone speaks. You knew there was something wrong with a relationship before you had proof. Before you took a single step, you knew that a certain path wasn't right for you. Time later proved you right. You're not guessing when you know something. A signal that most people never learn to notice is being picked up. This is a real signal. You can measure where it comes from in your brain. Before the end of this message, you'll know exactly what that source is and why it's been waking up in you. Second, places that used to be nice don't feel good anymore. The small talk that used to pass the time doesn't seem important anymore. Places that used to make you happy now feel like someone else's clothes that are too small for you. It's not because you've become tough or proud, but because you're now more in sync. You could still act like you're at ease in those places, but that part of you is slowly being replaced by someone who can't live at a frequency that doesn't work for them anymore. You're not flawed because you feel uneasy in some places around certain energies or with certain ways of thinking. It's a map. Your spirit is moving you and it won't say sorry for not going where it doesn't belong. Third, you're not sure how to express your creativity. Something inside you needs to be made, expressed, built, or let out. And it won't stop until you do something about it. Not just an idea of what you want, but a strong, constant pull towards something you can't fully explain, but can feel. When you wake up at night, you have a big thought that doesn't fit the time. When you're having a normal day, something whispers about amazing possibilities. When you have a problem, your mind starts right away to come up with solutions that don't seem to come from your training or experience. This is not being impatient. This isn't worry trying to look like creativity. This is being ready. It's the push of a gift that has been waiting longer than it should have. Fourth, your dreams have changed. They are now more vivid, have more meaning, and are better organized. When you wake up from some dreams, the way you feel stays with you even after the dreams are over. It wasn't a fear that lingered. It was a lesson that lingered. Your body knows what was said in that time between sleeping and waking up, even if your words can't explain it. While you sleep, your mind is getting ready for something that it will do when it wakes up. You're not making this up. You are getting ready. Fifth, this is the oldest pattern of all of them. Your body knows the truth before your mind fully understands what it means. From the base of your neck down your spine, you feel a deep chill, a stillness that isn't cold and a shiver. It's the soul's old alarm system that knows when it connects with real truth. You've learned not to ignore it or write it off as nerves or a coincidence. It's not superstition to have that gut feeling. It's the most advanced system you have for finding the truth. And it's always worked. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give and it will be given to you is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose. Join the conversation and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. There are 5 patterns and you felt all of them. It's not just a bunch of random events that you're going through. It's one whole picture. The image of a mind going back to how it was originally made. First, you need to understand the truth about what's been going on inside you. There is a state of mind that is not just a saying, but something that can be measured and is neurobiologically real. A state that most adults almost never reach, but that the most creative people in history often entered. Brain scientist, Dr. Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize in 1981 for showing how this state works. Sperry spent years studying how the mind works. It was his job to study how the left and right sides of the brain, logic and intuition, words and pictures, and the way we think and see in steps all work together. He called the way these two halves work in most adults functional disconnection. One side is loud and in charge while the other is there but not loud. For this reason, the brain isn't working as well as it could. But he proved that there is a state where both halves work together, where there is no longer a wall between them and the whole power of the mind is available at once. It's called whole brain activation by the people who study it. It doesn't need a fancy name for people who have been through it. They know what they miss when they're not in it and when they are. Because he thought in a way that no one else could. Nikola Tesla solved problems that the smartest scientists of his time couldn't even begin to think about. Not by working longer or harder, but in a different way. He went into a state where his right brain, which is creative, and left brain, which is analytical, were both fully busy at the same time. When he was like that, answers didn't come to him as things he had to figure out. They came to him fully formed from a place deeper than normal thought. Steve Jobs would walk barefoot on the sidewalks when he had to make a hard creative decision. Not only to clear his mind, but also to get into a state of focused attention that made him do amazing things. His closest co-workers learned to spot this state of mind. You know this state. You've been there. You know what it's like when your mind is fully charged. When your thinking, your intuition, and your creativity are all working together like a single current, but not all the time or whenever you want. Where things that would take an hour of hard work just happen naturally in minutes of real flow. The whole brain is being used. That's the new power you got. Not because you planned it, but because you are determined. What no one tells you. Not in school, not in most churches, and not anywhere else where kids learn the usual things about growing up. People who aren't geniuses can also be in this state. It's what makes geniuses. It was there when you were born. It was in you from birth. From the time you were 3 to 7 years old, before school started to emphasize left brain tasks, and before adults told you to hide your feelings and follow strict rules, you naturally did things that used your whole brain. Not sometimes, all the time. That's how your nervous system naturally worked before the world started teaching it to be less than it was. When kids are 5 years old and tested on their creative thinking, 98% of them show genius-level skills. This isn't because kids are smarter than adults in the usual sense. It's because they haven't been taught how to separate the two parts of their brain that allow them to be geniuses. The brain still has all of its natural parts. The message is still whole. Everything in the brain is still working the way it was meant to. Not even 1% of adults keep that level of access. Not even 1 in 1,000. Not because of their genes, their IQ, their choices, or their character. Because of what took place between then and now, the signal was broken by something. There are rules, systems, demands, and pressures in your life that weren't meant to help you keep what you were born with. They were made so that you would meet their needs, which meant that you had to be a different person with one side of your brain in charge and the other side sitting quietly in the corner. You're still here though, so the power didn't go out. It was deep. It stopped. It was waiting for the kind of soul that you were during the years you were trying to figure out what was wrong with you. One that was interested, persistent, and unwilling to settle down. There was nothing wrong with you. Something was stopped, but it wasn't supposed to stay stopped. The bad guy in your story didn't just take advantage of your confusion. He helped make it happen. Allow me to explain what stopping whole brain activation does to a certain person. Not in medical terms, but in terms of the way you've been living. If you only use your left brain, which is what modern life encourages and makes you do, you see the world as a bunch of problems to solve, tasks to complete, and comparisons to stay alive. The right half of the brain is there, but it is shut down. This half can see patterns across large areas, know intuitively what is true from what is just presented as true, and get advice from outside of logical thought. There's a second voice in the background that keeps getting cut off before it can finish speaking. Three things work together to cause the decline effect, which is what brain doctor Daniel Barron, who has worked in the field for more than 20 years, called the process of turning off one half of the brain from childhood to adulthood. The first thing to look at is how formal education is set up. The way most schools are set up makes left brain dominance a fact. Keep still. Remember and say it again when asked. Learn how to do it instead of asking why. Don't think about it. Just remember the right brain isn't punished in a clear way. It just gets less important every year until the left brain takes over completely. The connection that used to be there becomes a memory that the adult can't quite reach. The second type is long-term low-level stress. The brain can handle the sudden sharp stress of real physical danger very well. What it can't handle is the constant mild stress of modern adult life. They worry about money all the time, always being aware of what you haven't done compared to what you wanted to do. It's tiring to act like you can handle things in a world that values having it all together. When you're under this much stress, your brain stays in a survival mode, which means that it can't activate the whole brain. Because of how the brain is built, you can't be in survival mode and a state of flow at the same time. It always picks to stay alive. The third force is what scientists are now calling attention fragmentation. This is when you can't focus deeply for as long as you need to in order for your whole brain to be activated. It changes the way you normally pay attention from long, deep, creative concentration to short, quick, reactive responses. Whole brain activation isn't just on the outside. It lives down there. And the modern world has been slowly taking away people's depth perception for almost 20 years now. Over the years, three forces have worked together. And I'm not just guessing. There is a real observable difference between how an adult brain works now and how it worked when they were kids. So there is a chosen one who knows something should be different and who can feel the edge of something amazing. Sometimes they touch it in prayer, creativity, and those rare clear moments, but then they lose it without knowing why it didn't last. But there's more going on here than just medicine, and a medical view doesn't fully show it. This gift of a unified mind, this whole brain ability that shows up in you when the conditions are right, is worth a lot more than just your personal or professional success. When the whole brain is activated, the mind does more than just process information faster. It has a different view. It sees patterns in things that minds that aren't connected can't see. It tells what is true when the truth has been hidden by clever lies. It gets instructions from something deeper and older than the noise of the world around it. Not from that noise. This is why the genius state or whole brain state has been talked about in all ancient wisdom traditions that have stood the test of time and cultures, not as a way to get smarter quickly, but as the original state of a soul that is truly connected with the intelligence that made it. At this point, the fight in your story is no longer just about biology. You haven't been in a genius state by chance. Forces have been working against you. People who have studied modern society in depth say that there is a reason why it has done everything it could to keep this God-given ability from becoming widely known or recovered. When the whole brain is working, a person is not interested in what the world has to offer. They already have a source that no one else can copy. You can't trick them, distract them, or keep them confused and dependent. The person who is against your calling is not scared of your work. He sees you at work. He's scared of how clear you are. Someone who has been chosen and has regained full brain activation is more than just blessed. Because you are broken on the inside, they are dangerous to any system that was built on the idea that you would stay under control. Things you learned are exactly what all the forces that have ever tried to stop you from reaching your goal didn't want you to have. There's no chance in that. You're getting ready in that shape. The recognition you just felt doesn't come from your thinking mind, but from a place deeper inside you. It has a frequency that you can measure. And a path has been made just for people who feel the way you do right now. I want to make a direct point before we go into more detail about the bigger picture. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our COI community, by doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says, this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. According to the research we've been talking about, a group of brain scientists made a tool that can make up for what the decline effect took away from you. It's not a way of life. It's not a complicated plan with many steps that you might not be able to do right now. Neuronal sync technology is used in this 8-minute audio sequence to give your brain the exact sounds it needs to get both sides back to the way they were when you were a child. You just breathe and sit with headphones on. We're going to talk more about this. You will be told everything, but I wanted you to know about it first because some of you may already be interested. And truth always respects truth. I'd rather call what is real by its name than let that knowing go unacknowledged while we go on. The path is in the message's description and the first comment below it. Only look into it if your spirit tells you to. The reason will be clear after what comes next. Before we get to the whole picture, there's one more truth you need to know. You can't get back to the natural state of whole brain activation that you have turned off by sheer willpower. This is the most important sentence in the whole thing. You can't force your way back into it. No matter how hard you try in your spiritual life or how long you work on your creative projects, your left brain is already working alone at a fraction of what it was meant to do. So adding more work to it won't help. When the right conditions are sent to your brain through your ears, the two sides of your brain work together. Sound gets into the brain in a way that skips the filters of your conscious mind. Researchers have found that a certain sequence of sounds, carefully designed at the level of brain architecture, can change the brain from its default state of fragmented survival mode to the synchronized state that you may have briefly felt in your most creative and spiritual moments. In the first place, the research pointed this way. There was a Nobel Prize that explained how the brain works. Decades of neuroscience that taught us how to use it. And now there is a tool that you can use in just 8 minutes in the morning. People who have gotten back to this state talk about a steady series of changes. Not the big sudden changes that marketers promise will happen overnight. Instead, it's the clear and quiet return of something that was always theirs. It is easier for thoughts to end when you need them. The right words come to you right away, not 20 minutes later. Things that weren't clear before become clear enough to act on. The kind of creativity that was getting stuck starts to flow like it did when you were younger. In the background, you start to feel more and more like the world is guiding your life in a way that stopped around age 9 or 10. It's not magic. The things that were stopping your brain from doing what it was meant to do are gone, and things that help it are put in their place. There's one more layer below. everything we've talked about before I show you the whole picture. One more truth that changes everything about your journey from being a genius as a child to where you are now. This is the one that most people who listen this long never really get. The peace that follows changes how you think about everything that happened. This is what no one told you about the power you learned. They are not damaged versions of what they were meant to be. They are the chosen ones who have been through the most intense suppression, the longest periods of feeling lost, and the constant pressure against their natural state. They're better versions. It was meant to stop you from activating your whole brain. But it did something else instead. You could tell the difference between clever lies and the truth more clearly because your nervous system became more sensitive. This is different from if the suppression had never happened. You became better at hunting because you spent years looking for the frequency you had lost. People who never lost it didn't have to develop this skill. You learned how to find truth in places that weren't meant to hold it. You learned how to stay true to yourself. You learned a certain kind of faith that isn't a feeling, but a structure. It's something you build in the dark with things you can't see. And it has weight because it was built for a long time without the comfort of seeing clear results. What you went through helped you learn a new power not because of what you went through. When you were 7 years old, your mind was like a child's. The soul you carry now has access to genius spiritual insight and the hard-won accuracy of someone who made it through the suppression without giving up their purpose. That combination doesn't work well together. People who are meant to do a certain thing and whose training required taking away their easy access to power so they would have to look deeper than convenience to find it. Develop it. The enemy did not destroy you. He taught you by taking it away from you. He showed you what power was. He let you go years without it to show you how much you needed it. There's no point in starting over now. That you're almost back at. You've reached the place that was always the goal. I'll give you what you came for right away. Your brain was already in whole brain synchronization when you were born. This is when your left and right halves work together as one intelligent system. Through schooling, constant stress, and split attention, modern society shuts down that state all the way through your growth. This made a special person who knew they were meant to do more. They felt their full power in times of prayer, deep creativity, and stillness. But they couldn't keep it up or call on it whenever they wanted to. It doesn't take years of spiritual practice to get back to this state. A certain researcher created the science behind how to do that in just 8 minutes a day for a certain group of people. People who feel the same way you do and who have been called to their calling for too long to accept that this is all there is. It had been there for years during prayer when words stopped. There was a sense that something bigger was moving when you were really inspired and didn't know where the ideas were coming from. You could tell they were coming from somewhere deeper than your training. While working on a problem, when the answer showed up before you were done with all the steps and logic, you weren't making it up. You were getting close to a state that scientists were just starting to figure out how to describe. What you touched was the activation of your whole brain. The information you are about to receive is the fastest and easiest way to get back to that state every day. Not everyone should do this. When most people see this kind of research for the first time, they skip it. They're used to having brain fog, losing words in the middle of sentences, and the feeling that a smarter, clearer, more creative version of themselves disappeared in their 20s or 30s and was replaced by someone who only manages things instead of making things. They gave up not because they were weak, but because they didn't know that giving up was an option. Not just something that comes with getting older. You're still here, though. You're still wondering why your mind doesn't always work like it did when you were at your best. That question that won't go away isn't from someone who has accepted that things will always be broken. That's the question of a chosen one who knows deep down that their old power was real, that the loss isn't the end of the story, and that there is a way for what was lost to come back. Dr. Roger Sperry spent years writing down the structure of the brain that you've been looking for. His work with people whose brain halves had been surgically separated to study how they worked revealed something that has changed the way we think about thinking forever. There are two separate parts of the brain that can do amazing things on their own. But when they work together, they can do something completely different. A state of thinking that is unified and works at a level that can't be matched by left brain thinking that works in steps. This earned him the Nobel Prize in 1981. The news spread around the world. A lot of people never really got what it meant. The implication was that synchronizing your whole brain isn't something that only a few people can do. It's how people naturally think, and they haven't been forced to change it. When they are 5, 98% of kids do very well on standard brain tests that measure intelligence. Not even 1% of adults remember that performance. Genes are getting older can't explain that difference. It makes sense because the forces we've talked about here stop hemisphere synchronization over and over again. That difference is what took place with you. The difference is between who you are when you're at full power and when your mind is scattered and you're just getting by. A nurse from San Diego said something that really stuck with me. She had worked for years at a job she loved, but she was mentally passive. She said that for many years she felt like life was happening to her instead of through her. Her mind was like a movie where she was supposed to be the main character, but someone or something else was in charge. After 2 weeks of 8 minutes a day, she said there was a quiet change that wasn't dramatic or like how ads use exaggerated language. It was a simple, clear return of faith in her own thinking that she hadn't had since she was a child. The ideas began to come together on their own. It stopped feeling like decisions were traps set for someone who would always make the wrong choice. She remembered her. That's how whole brain activation comes back. Not as a supernatural event, but as the natural result of the suppression being lifted, following the lead of Dr. Daniel Barron, a New York City neurologist with more than 20 years of experience in brain function research and clinical neurology. A group of brain scientists built something that can be used by a real person in their everyday life. Not a meditation retreat that takes weeks away from work. Not a medical neurofeedback machine that costs $70,000 and needs to be operated by a trained professional. And not a program that makes you be quiet for 90 minutes in a certain place before you start your day. For 8 minutes with headphones on and eyes closed, they made a specific sound sequence. Neuronal sync technology was used to make the sequence. This is a carefully planned way to deliver sound that is meant to give both sides of your brain the conditions they need to naturally sync up. Like they did when you were a child and the world broke the connection. The name for it is the genius switch. It is not a drug for the brain. This is not an app for meditation. It's not what comes up when you search for content or music with the same name on a platform. The alternatives have been carefully looked at by Dr. Barron's team. A lot of them don't have any real neural synchronization design. They sound like what you're looking for and use scientific language to help with search. But the engineering that makes synchronization possible isn't there. The targeted audio sequence can only be obtained directly from Dr. Barron and his team. And he explains why on the page. It's natural for some of you to think of tools you've used in the past that didn't do what they said they would. What's different is this. Most of the products sold in this area only worked with one side of the brain at a time or with a certain range of sound frequencies. Brain activation is more than just a frequency. It is an event for synchronization. Both sides of the brain need to be in a certain position to receive the signal. Free options don't have the exact engineering that is needed to do that. The genius switch was made in a lab by a group whose only goal was to solve this problem. When Dr. Barron's co-workers saw this work for the first time in a professional setting, they said it was worth $500, which is a fair estimate when you look at what else is out there. Neurofeedback sessions that take place in person cost $300 an hour for the clinic. These sessions try to create measurable synchronization. At the low end, a neurofeedback device that you can use at home costs $7. The same kind of synchronization can happen in 8 minutes with what Dr. Barron's team built without an appointment, a machine, or the clinic's fees. This wasn't priced at $500. It wasn't priced at $100 or $200. It was sold for $49. Which is more than 40% less than what they were supposed to charge. You read this message all the way through so you know what you're really getting. As a reward, the page gives you an extra 10 off today. For $39, you can get it. That's not all. When you place your order, you get 4 extra resources for free. A guided visualization from a top artist in this field that will take you through 4 areas of your life where you can feel the return of whole brain activation most clearly and in real ways. A grocery list of 10 common foods that make you feel foggy along with tips that can help you save over $100 a month on the foods you already buy. A 20 book on manifestation that has been around for more than 100 years and is where most modern ideas about living an aligned life got their start, and a professionally made 5 habits infographic that you can print out and keep in your space. It shows how to live a life that works with your brain's natural state. There is 100% money-back guarantee on the whole package, which includes the sequence and the 4 bonuses. It doesn't matter how many times you've used it. There is no fine print about engagement rules. You don't have to pay anything if the function's return isn't what was promised. That promise isn't meant to lower risk. It's about how sure a team is that they know what the sequence does. Before I show you the door, one more thing. You can find music and content platforms that use Genius Switch or names that sound like it if you search for them. Dr. Barron's group has tried out a lot of them. Most of them don't have any neural synchronization design at all. To help them find things, they use the name and category. Even though they were named after what you're looking for, they don't have any engineering. Don't settle for a copy when the real thing is out there and can be bought. The real steps can only be taken by Dr. Barron and his team. The link is in the description and the first comment below this message. The door is open if you want to find out what 8 minutes a day for 2 weeks can do for the way your mind works, how clear your perception is, and how you can get back to the creative and intuitive access you've been teetering on for years. Just headphones and no other gear. The only rules are to close your eyes and receive for 8 minutes. If your spirit says yes, look into it. Your body wasn't made to carry 10% of what it was made to carry. Not by the thing that made you. You have been called to do this through every season that tried to stop you. The chosen ones who went through the wilderness of suppression and made it to the edge of restoration carry something that people who are happy and at ease never develop. Full capacity means knowing what it really costs and what it really asks of you, and why the silence before it was worth what it asked of you. You're not getting power but a return. No harm was done to the child inside you who could see clearly, learn quickly, and easily make connections between what the eyes see and what the spirit receives. That child was waiting inside a nervous system that had been taught over and over again to forget what it knew. You are still the same person you were before. You've made it through everything that tried to make you believe the loss was permanent. The enemy tried something else because he couldn't kill you. He tried to forget about you. It wasn't because you were weak that you let yourself forget, but because you didn't have a name for what had been taken or a way to get it back. Now you have the name. You have the map. People who walked the ancient path that leads to your own calling always said that there was a moment just before the crossing. It's not the party on the other side. Right before the crossing, when everything that had happened in the wilderness became clear, not as a record of pain, but as a record of getting ready, that's when the delay that felt like punishment turned out to be planned. When the chosen one was about to discover what they were made to do, they may have realized for the first time that everything that had happened to shape them had been for a reason. That's where you are right now. Every relationship where you stuck by someone even when others took the easier route and left. Every creative idea that came to you fully formed and real. But years before there was a way to make it happen and the tools to do it, it felt like no one was listening to your prayers in the early hours of the morning. But you prayed anyway because you couldn't stop believing that someone was listening. There were questions every night that pushed you past simple answers and into the realm where real answers lie. There was no waste. There were no surprises. Everything was correct. In ancient times, Solomon's wisdom was seen as a level of insight that others couldn't fully explain. He didn't get that wisdom in a moment of triumphant glory. He stood in front of a task that was bigger than any training he had gotten and said one simple thing. He said he didn't know how to lead the things he was in charge of. Instead of putting himself down, he did it out of the honest intelligence of a soul that knew what was being asked of it. It was bigger than what it had at the time. It was smart enough to say so instead of pretending to have confidence it hadn't yet grown into. And the answer wasn't more directions. The answer was more power, more access, and the opening of the exact resource that the job needed. That's what's going on now. Not more directions, but more skills. There's more to be than to do. The state of your whole brain that you were born with is also the state in which the source can speak clearly to your soul. You don't have to be a certain personality type to have the clarity you've been looking for in your prayer life, your decisions, your creative work, and your ability to tell the difference between what's real and what just seems real. It's what happens naturally when the brain works the way it was meant to in sync. Also, the enemy that feared it worked to stop it and benefited from your confusion did not destroy it. He put it off. The wait is over now. What was just said should go where it belongs, not in the part of your mind that thinks about things and files them away. Let the part of you that knew this message was true before your thinking mind could figure it out hold on to what was said here. Before this voice stops, I want to say something to you. You who have carried the mission in silence, stayed true to the calling even though no one else could see any outward signs of it. Stayed curious even though the world rewarded conformity and kept the creative fire burning through all the times that it would have been okay to give up. No one could have missed how loyal you were. Your shaping wasn't a mistake. What you are getting back now isn't just making up for time that was lost. That shaping is what made that person strong enough to handle what comes next without ruining it or being undone by it. Take a deep breath. It should be full and slow. You didn't just learn how to use that power by accident. To find it, someone had to work hard for a long time to become strong enough to carry it without being destroyed by it. That person is now you. People like that are what the years made them. The old symbol for what's about to start isn't something new coming in. It's the return of something unique. A mind that had been fighting itself was finally able to work as the whole unified instrument it was meant to be. And what you stopped is about to begin again. Not because you made it happen, but because you stayed. Because you wouldn't accept that the pieces would stay together. You kept walking through the wilderness until it was over. When you were young, the person who was trying to stop you from seeing clearly saw a threat being made. He reacted with the only tools that could be used against something that can't directly hurt a chosen one. He got you to work through suppression, delay, confusion, and the slow loss of the frequency that made you dangerous to him. In the end, nothing worked. What is put in a chosen one by the source that put it there can't be taken away permanently by a force that didn't come from the same source. It could be put off. It's possible to stop it. It can be turned off for times of the year that feel like they last forever but don't. After years of being confused, it all comes back one morning in a single message or act of listening that a soul was finally ready to receive. It comes back whole with everything that the wilderness added to it, with the precision of something that was always meant for this moment and arrived exactly when it was supposed to. It's now morning that time. Share this message with someone you know who has been walking through the same wilderness, carrying the weight of a purpose they can't yet name and feeling the edges of a power they can't yet explain. This person needs to know that what they're feeling is real and that there is a way back to it. Not as advice, but as a gift from someone special to someone else. Feel free to leave a comment if this touched you deeply. Not for online stats, but for the person who comes after you and needs to know they're not the only one who feels the way they do. The person who reads that matter more to you than you know. It's also possible for the door described to keep calling after the message is over. The link is in the description in the first comment. You can get to the genius switch whenever you're ready. Close your eyes, put on headphones, and give your brain 8 minutes to do what it was made to do. You can start living out what you were made to do right now, not tomorrow or after the next season of getting ready. The planning was always leading to this point. Choose the completeness that was made just for you. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel, your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry. When Jesus says, "Give and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart. And as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now. Join the family and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment. A place where divine abundance is not just a hope but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.